All right, we are live. This is Kyle with WMMA Fighters
Hi.
and Cassie with me, and we have a special guest with us tonight, Yolanda Schmidt. How you doing tonight?
Hi, good. How are you?
Well, today for you, right? You're in Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it's a sunny one, but it's a cold one.
yeah. That's funny. I don't think people realize that Australia gets cold.
Well, I'm not in the coldest part of Australia, but it
hmm
definitely does get cold. We've had 1 degree mornings, and it's not very fun to open up the gym at that time in the morning
No,
and teach classes.
no,
No thanks.
yeah. So, we've talked to Muay Thai fighters before. I love Muay Thai. And it's a huge part of mixed martial arts, and I appreciate you coming on. This is awesome.
No, thank you for having me.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
excited.
So I don't know how familiar you are. So kind of like what we do is we just obviously we're live and we just roll with it, and it always tends to just be more fun that way.
Yeah, I'm happy
Yeah.
to see where the conversation goes.
So let's start with the basics here. uh, what age did you start competing? Or I guess no, what age did you start training in this and then realize I really want to do this?
Well, I only started for fitness, so
hmm
I actually really had no intention. My trainer asked me the moment I walked in, "Are you here for fighting? Are you here for fitness?" And I was like, "Hell no, fitness only." Like, I had no intention. I had this one track mind. I guess I was uneducated that fighting is dangerous. Yeah, it is, as with any sport, but I had this one track mind of you're going to get brain damage and you shouldn't be fighting. So for me, I was completely against it.
hmm
And now here I am dying to get into the ring.
Right.
So it's only been 5 years.
hmm
So 5 years ago, maybe almost six actually. In October will be six.
Wow.
So that's how long ago I started training. And I was only training once a week, twice a week at a max. And then about 6 months later, I started going, well, this is pretty cool. I feel like I'm enjoying this. I'm liking the challenge. Let
hmm
me see what I can do with it. So I started training for 5 days. And then before you knew it, I dropped the dance and continued with the martial arts. So yeah, I'd say within a year of starting to train,
hmm
then I took my first fight.
that's really cool. I love asking that question. I know it seems a little maybe cliche and generic, but it's amazing how many professional fighters in whatever discipline start out for fitness,
Yeah,
and then you find yourself doing something totally different or making a living out of it. And I think that's super cool.
yeah. It's just you can't limit yourself into thinking that you can or you can't do something. So coming into it, I sort of did limit myself
hmm
in saying that I only wanted to do it for fitness. But you know, once you start learning the techniques and you see your skill developing and your confidence increases, then it feels like you need another challenge. You need something more. You can't just keep stagnant at that level. So you've just got to strive for more. And the next step was getting into the ring.
Right, and that's just awesome. So, um, now, what was it a point to where it was more you thinking, "Hey, I want to push for this," or did you have coaches approach you and say, "Hey, why
I
why don't you give
guess
this a try?"
I had a lot of the other fighters because I was training alongside fighters. When I first started, they were in a class that was starting after my class was. So
hmm
I was able to see them training. And then eventually I transitioned into that class because my skill developed into the level at which they were at, in a sense. Not obviously that skill level, but enough for me to be able to swim instead of drowned in that
Right.
class. And a lot of the fighters said to me, "Oh, so you're looking to fight?" And I was like, "No, no, 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 I'm not looking to fight." But I guess the more fighters asked me, the more they planted that seed. So then I started thinking about it, going, "Oh, well, maybe I should."
hmm
And then I had that conversation with my trainer, and he said to me, "Look, when you're ready, I'll let you know."
Oh,
So I left it in his hands, and 6 months later, he said to me, "Look, there's a fight. Do you want it?" And I was like, yes.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
How cool
very
is that?
interesting to actually get to that stage. I mean, I went from a dancer to being a fighter, so
Mhm.
it's a complete 180. Um,
Yeah.
you know, doing pirouettes and all sorts to going into be punching someone in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, so did you start with Muay Thai or did you do boxing or another discipline or was it just right into the Muay Thai and just took it?
Actually, Muay Thai found me after my I tore muscles in my shoulder.
Oh,
So
wow.
I started with boxercise,
Hmm.
good old boxercise at the weights gym. They had a class a week, so I did that once a week on a Wednesday. And when I started getting the I guess the gist of it there, I went and looked for a different gym that focused on perhaps boxing.
Hmm.
That's what I was looking for, but I found a kickboxing, MMA, and jiu-jitsu place. And I started there doing kickboxing twice a week. And then because they offered the other martial arts, I was constantly going, oh, maybe I should, maybe I should. And then I transitioned to doing MMA twice a week, jiu-jitsu once a week, and kickboxing twice a week. So it was five days a week, and I was dipping my toes into all of them.
Wow.
So I actually hadn't come across Muay Thai at that stage yet.
Okay.
And then, yeah,
Yeah, is it
then I
red?
had an unlucky event where I had my shoulder torn.
Well, that's, like I said, I love, I guess, origin questions, And so so were you a lifelong dancer? Did you start young?
Actually, I didn't. It seems like with everything I take it on at a later stage in my life. I was almost at the end of my high school career when I started to dance.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, but then I danced for many years. I represented South Africa at the World Championships for Irish dancing, and when I moved to Australia, I studied dance full time. So I studied Indian classical, I studied ballet, contemporary, hip hop, a bit of everything, I guess. So um, then I just wanted to teach dance. I competed in dance for over 10 years.
Hmm.
Uh, and now I just have the passion to teach it.
Okay.
I don't want to compete anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's, a lot of times that seems like a natural kind of progression, I guess. That's really interesting though, because most people who dance, do it for a long time, from almost being a
Yeah,
really,
they
really
started
young
too.
kid. Yeah, exactly. Like those crazy people on those TV shows.
My parents.
Uh-oh. I have to set this back up. Yeah, that's what happens when you do things live. You gotta love live shows. Uh-oh. Yeah, looks like she's having issues. Well, while we wait, um, gonna make a prediction tonight. Polyana Viana taking on JJ Aldrich. JJ Aldrich is a very scrappy fighter. Polyana is a young Brazilian hotshot who won her debut. This is at UFC 227. They are on the main card, which is awesome. Not just for them, but for WMMA in general. They're straw weights, and I'm picking Polyana in this one. I think it's going to be a hard-fought split decision. So that was my generic filler. So let's try this again. Hey.
Hello?
I'm going to connect my phone to my hotspot and see if it's our internet that is
All right.
causing all this
Well,
trouble.
sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
But that's part of the live.
Yeah,
Doing things live,
it's all
Um,
good.
yeah. So we were at talking about dance and how most people do that very young
Starting
age.
at 2 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
um, I come from a really big family, so my family wasn't able to
Come on, please.
financially support all our desires when it came to sport or dance or anything. It's quite expensive. So I had to wait until, I guess, I was 16, got my first job, and I could help pay for the financial costs for dance.
Yeah, dancers make great athletes, and like Cassie here over my shoulder, she's a gymnast, and I think gymnasts make incredible athletes too.
Yeah.
But yeah, dancing is something that I don't think people fully understand what
Oh.
what it takes to be
Oh.
good at it.
Unless you come from a family, for example, you have a daughter who's a gymnast, so you would have a very good understanding of what it takes to be either a gymnast or a dancer, because the dedication, the time, the effort, the money, it's a lot.
Yeah,
Mentally and physically, it's a lot.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty intense. I mean, she's 9 years old, and a lot of her time is spent doing this. It's
Yep.
crazy. So yeah, she wanted to ask you a question.
What
Ask
age
away.
were you when you started fighting?
I hate that question because I constantly tell people I'm an age that I'm not an age. I never tell anyone my real age. So can I make it up?
Yes.
I constantly tell people I was 22 when I started fighting.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you knew it had to come up.
Yep.
So let's.
It always does.
Yeah. So, what gym are you out of? You've been to Tiger Muay Thai?
I have been to Tiger Muay Thai. That was my first trip when I went
Nice.
over to Thailand. Because back then I was still doing MMA, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing. So they had all of it in one space. So for me, that was the logical one. And then when I transitioned to Muay Thai, and now I'm with PTJ Muay Thai Gym in Sydney. So when I go overseas to Thailand, we've got specific gyms, I guess sister gyms that we go to. There's one in Chiang Mai. There's two in Chiang Mai that we go to. It's San Thai, Muay Thai, and Hong Kong. And then in Bangkok, we go to Pop Tam. And then if we go to Phuket, then we go to Sitsong Pinong. So we
Nice.
kind of have good relationships with them. We have a relationship with a gym in Ubon, which is out Isan Way, in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
which is Lam Namun. So it all depends on what I'm looking for when I go overseas. So if I'm looking to actually just have a chill and train hard, then going down Ubon Way is the better option because there aren't as many high-level fights available. If you're looking for high-level fights, then the gyms in Chiang Mai and Bangkok can offer those high-level fights. It is becoming harder and harder now at the level I'm at to get good quality fights. And my trainer won't just take any fight.
Right. Right. And as they shouldn't,
Yeah.
I mean, especially now, you're at a point to where, you're a Muay Thai just ace, so you don't just want to run around. Hey, yeah, we'll fight this person, we'll fight that person.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, if I haven't worked for it, then I don't believe I earned it. So
Right.
I don't want just a walkover fight.
Right, which is just awesome. It says a whole lot about you and just what your training mindset and all that stuff. And I think it's incredible, and it's something that outside looking in is probably hard to understand. From a fan's perspective.
Yeah.
But definitely, I fully understand and just I respect that. I think it's incredible. And you also got to look out for yourself too. I mean, fighting it's an awesome. Combat sports in general are awesome, but your time ticks every day. Every fight takes a little bit of time off of that, even if you dominate. You
100%.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So
The lifespan of an athlete is limited. The lifespan of a fighting athlete, a combat sport athlete, is even more limited
Right.
because it's such a physical
Mm-hmm.
sport, yeah, go with rugby or footy or football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that takes it out of you, but you're not physically being smashed in the face
Right.
or the ribs 4 or
Yeah.
5 rounds.
Well, it's funny too, so like on the flip side of that, in the States we have a version of football as well, and it's a lot different than what the rest of the world calls football. We call it soccer. Um,
Yes.
but in the football over here, they wear helmets and pads and all these things. Yet the amount of injuries, and not just injuries, I'm talking like life-altering injuries, is just
Yeah.
staggering. And
Horrible.
it's crazy because you know we're essentially the only country that plays that sport, and the percentage of big time injuries is much higher than fighters, and fighting is worldwide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you that, like you said, your life as a combat sports athlete is lower than that, potentially lower than that of a other sport, but it's not dangerous. You know what I mean? Like people say, it's different. I mean that's
Yeah.
another thing. Probably at your level, you probably don't see it anymore, that negative stigma. But when you were first getting into this, were there a lot of women at the gyms you were at? And, were people like, what are you doing? You know?
There was definitely not. From the gym I was at, we were 3 female fighters and possibly another 5 females who were just training for fitness
Mm-hmm.
out of our entire membership. And, now if I have to look at it, our gym is 50-50 ratio between men and women, which is
Wow.
great. But when I started, it was definitely uncommon,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a lot of people asking me why I was doing such a manly sport.
Mm-hmm.
And to try and justify why I enjoyed something that is manly is really hard,
Yeah.
because I don't feel like it should be classified as a male sport or a female sport. And I think that's what's happened in the last couple of years is the world has evolved,
Mm-hmm.
and they've opened up their point of view to not being so narrow-minded, to have it's a male sport, only men should be doing it. If you have to think 10 years ago, watching female fighters fight, a lot of them were scrappy.
Mm-hmm.
The technique was not good to watch. But if you have a look over the last couple of years, looking at the female fighters, they're really good to watch.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
skill is there. Their technique is there. They put in the same hard work that the men do. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel now we can sell the same amount of tickets for a fight show as what a man could potentially.
Yeah.
So back 5-6 years ago, the issue was always, well, we can't put the females on the show because they're not going to sell the tickets. But that's changed.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking back when people were always asking me why I'm doing a manly sport, why?
Uh-oh. No.
Hello?
No.
Did we lose you?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You there?
Oh no, I'm here.
Okay. Oh no. There's my face. Technology. Hey again.
Hi, the joys of internet.
Oh yeah, I was about to say the same thing. So yeah, you cut off with us was people asking why you're doing such a manly sport.
Even now, I still get it, but just not as often.
Right.
People asking, I'm a high school teacher, so I teach PDHPE, which is personal development, health, and physical education. So for me, I teach in an all-girls school now, whereas before I was in both. And now I feel like the girls are, I guess, inspired. They aspire to the fact that a female is dominant in a male-dominant sport.
Mm-hmm.
And for them who want to go into doing AFL or other manly sports, it shows them that we've broken that stigma and there isn't really that stereotype of what sport you could or couldn't be doing. So it's still hard, but it's definitely a lot better than it was back when I started.
Yeah.
And if you have to think of the Tiffany Van Soest and Kaylee Reese, they paved the way. Even haters going to hate, but even the likes of Ronda Rousey, she really paved the way for females in the sport, showing us that, you know, we've got the skill and we're not just scrappies that should be ring women.
Right. No, I hear you. And, you know, there's a lot, you know, a lot has changed because, and I think like, you know, Muay Thai and MMA gyms, and, you know, just boxing gyms in general, everyone I've ever been to is very welcoming, you know. I've never really had a bad experience, and that's why I always recommend to people, hey, you should try some sort of martial art, you know, just because you're going to be accepted. And I think combat sports in general is fully responsible for their own success and inclusion. I mean, I really do.
Yeah.
You know, I really do feel that way. It's one of those things like, oh, hey, we got more, you know, more girls here this week or whatever, you know, and it's just like, you don't even think about it. It's like, hey, we got more people. This is awesome. So, and then, you know, talking about, you know, male dominated, right? So there's a reason, well, a lot of reasons why I'm doing what I do, but I think there's nothing but drama in the men's divisions in fighting.
I think there's more drama than with the women.
It's so stupid. Like, you know, it seems like the UFC, for example, has a plague of interim champions right now. You know what I mean? It seems like every pay-per-view is an interim title. And the women's divisions don't have that. And it's very strange. You know, like, I feel that if you were to tell, you know, Amanda Nunes, she doesn't dodge anybody, you know, Rose Namajunas isn't going to dodge anybody. You know, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, you know, that's why. And I get over pretty quick, like, you know, people like Conor McGregor, you know, I'm so over that guy. I can't even stand it, you know. But that you know, it's kind of interesting, you know, like you said, they're like, really, there's less drama? And I'm like, yeah, because they're going to fight, you know. I mean, you don't really have the weight issues, you know. There seems to be a lot more discipline. And sorry to take forever to make this point, but like, you know, it's like they don't feel they have anything to prove anymore. Now they're part of it, so they're just like, hey, we're gonna be professional all the time. You know, we're gonna do what we need to do. And
exactly,
like I said, the men's divisions are kind of imploding right now.
Yeah,
you know, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, and it's really paving a way for a lot of these women fighters in Muay Thai, boxing, and MMA, and it's really fun to watch.
It's so good. We've got a young girl at our gym. She's only 15, and she's currently in Thailand fighting at the IFMA World Championships against, which is great. But I believe that she's got what it takes to go right to the UFC.
Wow.
She trains boxing, she trains BJJ, she trains Muay Thai. She, at age 15, she puts in a heck of a lot of work.
Wow. So
it's just, for me, it's really good to see young females taking that on now, because they've had all these amazing role models for her to look up to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And how cool is that? I mean, you know, that is so young. You know, thinking 15 years old. I mean, she's got an eternity, you know.
Exactly. I mean, her lifespan of her career is still a long one.
Yeah, and you know, she's still growing. You know, so yeah, she's got a lot of really cool things to look forward to. So how cool is that?
Yeah.
And you know, so what kind of advice would you give to, let's say, the younger generation like that? You know, especially the younger girls. I mean, what kind of advice would you give them if they were like, you know, I'd like to do this, you know, as my living?
You know, firstly, have a backup plan,
Hmm.
because if you're going to get injured,
Yeah.
you need to have something else. But secondly, if you want to do it, you've got to do it, and you've got to be prepared to put in all that hard work. There's
Hmm.
no shortcuts. It's hard work, it's dedication. You've got to be willing to give up a lot of sacrifices where it comes to social get-togethers or time. And if you're willing to put in that work, you'll be able to achieve it. And I'm living proof that you don't have to be doing it for the last 20 years in order to make a success. You just have to be willing to put in that extra effort and
Right.
work extra hard.
That's awesome, and that's cool. You know, I love that point you put on the end. Again, you know, a lot of this stuff sounds like, you know, stuff you hear all the time. You know, like younger people, but there's a reason you hear it all the time because it's true. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen now. You know, I've seen the negative part of it as well, where sometimes you feel like no matter how hard I work, nothing's gonna happen, right? But it's
Yeah.
not true. It's not. That's just a roadblock, you know. That's a speed bump, and
Yeah.
sometimes
And there's lots of them.
yeah, and sometimes a change of scenery, you know, a physical change needs to happen, or sometimes it's just, you know, a mental thing. But yeah, you know, that kind of stuff. It sucks how heavy it weighs on you, though. You know, it
Yeah.
always seems like, oh yeah, things are going great, but then that one negative thing seems to just overshadow like 10 positive things. And you know, age is something that you know, I think a lot of people are scared of. You know, they're thinking, oh, I'm in my late 20s or my early 30s, I can't, you know, I can't do anything anymore. Well, that's not true, you know.
Yeah, definitely not true.
Yeah, you know, and it just, and I think the older you are, the more people notice that hard work, you know, and they're like, man, this person is really, so, you know, just if you're remotely considering it, go to a gym and sign up. I mean, that's all I'm saying, you know.
100%.
Yeah,
It,
just
it honestly, it doesn't matter. Man, woman, teenager,
Yeah.
just do it.
yeah,
And find your fit, because unfortunately, not all gyms are cut out for you. So don't take one bad experience at a gym
right.
as your sign. You know, you need to then go and find another gym, try a different one,
Yeah.
different trainers, different people, to find the one that suits you.
Exactly. And, you know, find you know, I always tell people, too, to try as many disciplines as you can. And if you like them all, great. But chances are you're going to find at least one or two that you're like, man, I could put some time into this, you know?
Yeah,
And that, but you definitely just go in, you know, positive attitude and an open mind, I think, and expect that, hey, this can get me in shape, because it will. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll get you in shape. But, you know, set your expectations, you know, realistically, and you'll realize how much you start excelling. And like you said,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter. I mean, I've seen young people and people in their 50s come in. I mean, obviously they're not going to strap up and fight, but I'm talking like a couple months go by and it's like, man,
yeah,
yeah, that person dropped 30 pounds. You know what I mean? Or look at what they're doing. So, in the gym, they treat them all the same. You know, that's the best part about these sports, I think. And you know, I put
it's
them
just so good for you mentally as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I've come across so many people who've been in bad places in their lives, and martial arts can really pull you out of that hole.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like one of my favorite stories ever. Well, favorite, just it's kind of tragic but great now, is Pearl Gonzalez. You know, her story. You know, she came from a family of drug addicts and dealers, even. You know what I mean? And you hear stuff like that, and you're like, oh my God, and it just weighs so heavy on you. And when you can hear it in her voice, when she's not just saying it like a you know, a Hallmark card, when she says,
Yeah.
you know, martial arts saved my life, she literally means it saved my
It's
life, you know?
yeah.
And you hear that a lot, but I'm telling you, it's more true than it's not. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We've got a couple of people that train at our gym, and I can say for sure that if it wasn't for martial arts, they might have gone down that wrong path.
Yeah.
The path that was destined for them.
Yeah,
but they've chose not
exactly.
to.
And that's a great. I love that word because that's what Pearl said. You know, she says that was my destiny. You know, but she refused. And you know, her dad was always there. He made sure she got, you know, to the gym. She got training. She got so. And that's another thing too. You know, when you put in work, it's amazing. People that support you. You know.
Yeah.
And are inspired by you. Okay. But yeah, it just you know, really cool. And my favorite is the Muay Thai. I mean, you know, so I remember like UFC 1 25 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
When, you know, I was Hoist Gracie, fought twice in one night, you know, and he submitted that dude on his back after like 14 minutes. He outweighed him by like 100 and some pounds. And then, you know, I'm like, man, what a really crazy thing that we just watched, you know? Like, what is this?
What was that?
Yeah, yeah, and you know, it just over time, we started, and the sport started evolving rapidly because at the time they didn't have weight classes.
Yeah.
You know, gloves were voluntary. It was just insane. A lot of the fighters could wear shoes. It was weird. You know, and then they started doing weight classes. Obviously, they got a glove. They did all these things, and then Muay Thai came around. You know, when it first started, this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like blew everybody's minds, right? Except people from Brazil. You know, they're like, yeah, we've had this forever. Like, what are you talking about? But us over here, we're like, what was that? You know, that guy was like 150 pounds, and he just choked out a 300-pound wrestler. You know, and then Muay Thai starts coming around because it became more of a stand-up game.
Yeah.
And American kickboxing, I don't really know if that's the real term, but just the kickboxer is going to get shredded against the Muay Thai fighter. And that became quickly apparent, you know, as UFC came along and other promotions started doing this mixed martial arts stuff. So Muay Thai blew up. So it's like, you know, I think it's just a really fun sport to watch. What do you love the most about it? I mean, what was it that just clicked, you know, that you're like, man, this is just great?
Well, it's more than one thing. The fact that it's got such a strong bond to Thai culture.
Yes.
It's got a lot of cultural things. I really like that. So from the Y crew to how you get in and out of the ring, all of those things, that it's just incredible that over the years it's still got such a strong lasting with Muay Thai. What I really do enjoy is that it's got 8 weapons. You've got so much versatility. It's not just about punching. It's not just kicking. I can punch, kick, knee, elbow. I can sweep. I can clinch. And there's just so many techniques to learn. I would like to be a technical fighter, but I'm not. I'm getting there. But, you know, you do have different weapons that you can choose from based on a different scenario that you might be in with an opponent. So I might have an opponent who stays away from me, so then I can dig in deep and go for my kicks because they're longer range. I have an opponent that's constantly charging at me, use my elbows because she's going to get cut.
Right.
You know, so there's just so much more options and availability with weapon choices that I've really found that between the fact that it's so cultural and versatile, sold.
That's
definitely
awesome.
Sold.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, you know, it takes kickboxing, and I love the clinching, you know, and I love the technique with that. I mean, you know, when it came to MMA or the UFC front, you know, one that really made it front and center was Anderson Silva, you know, when he was in his prime. I mean, he started taking Muay Thai to a whole other level. And there's just a lot of, A lot of really great fighters. I mean, like Christina Williams, for example, for Bellator. I mean, she has
Yeah,
some wicked elbows. She was a Taekwondo, and that's another one that's very traditional, and is all about its roots and everything. But,
yeah,
when she made this a career, she started her Muay Thai, and it's the same, like you just say, you got somebody bum rushing. It's not smart to bum rush her because you're going to get cut, you know?
yeah,
And that's the thing. You have so many weapons at your disposal, and it's just really cool. Now, how much time do you usually put between fights, or how long is a typical camp for you?
Depending, because sometimes we get called a last minute for fights, but we like to prep for 4 weeks. So
Okay.
that would be my fight camp would be 4 weeks. We've had longer, but we've not really. I think the shortest I've had is 1 week or 2 weeks. But we try for 4 weeks. But it's not always ideal. So I stay as fight ready as possible, so that if we do get called, then we're ready to go without any issues.
Nice. And that was going to be my follow up. So so you're pretty much close to your fighting weight most of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I try and stay three kilos away from my fight weight, so that if at any time they call me up, I'm like, yep, sure, no problem. I
Right.
can lose those 3 kilos. Yeah.
Nice. And that's a great. That's probably just great for your overall discipline as well. And
It takes a lot of discipline in saying that.
yeah. Oh, I bet. Because that's one of the hardest things about. I was just talking to a fighter a couple of days ago, and I think a lot of people forget that you all are incredible athletes, but you're also humans,
Yes.
and it takes a lot to do this, and to be fight ready as often as you are is just
Yeah.
incredible. It's
The whole of last year, I was fight ready because the tournament I was in kept changing the dates.
oh wow.
So we kept going to fight camp, and everything's periodic. So I would ramp up my training at a certain time, then start coming down, and then realizing, oh, the fight date has been changed. So then we'd ramp it up again and taper down again, and the fight date would be changed. So it was really a pain mentally and physically. But yeah, maintaining the weights for an entire year, that was hard.
I bet.
That was hard.
I
Yeah.
I
So
don't-
come December, I had a break.
yeah, I don't even want to think about
Yeah.
how that was, because yeah, I mean, just looking at your breakdown, I mean, you're busy, to say the least. Very
Yeah.
very very busy fighter. Now, when you get out of a fight, um, a lot of it is mentally and physically, and not just being in shape, but knowing your limits.
Sorry, my battery's about to die, so I was just
Oh
plugging.
no, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm just plugging it in. Oh shit.
Hey.
Sorry.
Oh, you're
My
good.
battery died.
You're good. No problem. Yeah, it just there's a lot of things here. Skype is just Skype, and obviously being over in the States, and being over there, but it's no big deal. So yeah, we were. So, what division do you fight in?
54 kilos is my weight division.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what works out in the UFC weight divisions, because in Muay Thai you weigh in at a specific weight,
Right.
not a weight bracket.
Right.
Generally, I would fight anywhere between 53 and 57, depending what my opponent and my trainer, I guess, decide on.
Mm-hmm.
Prefer to fight at 54. We've gone 53.5. We'd look to go 53.
Mm-hmm.
We went to China in May and we did a kickboxing fight, and I went up to 50. I think I did 57 or 56, and we'd like to go lighter against those Chinese girls.
Right.
To be honest, yeah, they're a different kind of strong.
Right. Yeah, so that puts you around straw weight if you were in MMA. Puts you right there, which is just loaded in not just the UFC. I mean, that division is loaded, you know.
It is the most popular weight class.
Yeah.
It really.
It's crazy.
Even when I went to World Champs for IFMA, we had, I think, 20-something girls in that weight division.
Wow.
Because there's so many at my weight.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, there's so many, and I think that's a lot of. It's like it's a problem, but it's not. You know, at the same time, I think there's quite a few. I think that could make the jump to flyweight and be okay. You know, but like you said, that's a different kind of strong. You know.
Yeah.
You're like, 10 pounds, not a big deal. Well, it's a big deal. You know, because you're
Yeah.
talking. Walking weight is at least maybe 20 pounds more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a big difference. But yeah, there's a few that I think could be like Yolanda Jacek, for example. I think she could be a very successful flyweight.
I think so too.
Just because of her aggression and speed and stuff like that. But it is different. I mean, totally different. And there's a reason why they have weight classes. You know.
Yes.
So I mean, there's several reasons for it, but so yeah, you had a very successful. I mean, you've had a very successful career in general, amateur and pro, which is just awesome because you know it's a grind. You know, it is a grind. Anyway, so you're taking a little break. Do you have plans to get back in there in 2018?
Yeah. So I only took 2-3 weeks break over December. Then I fought in February, fought in April, fought in May, and now I'm kind of in limbo at the moment. I'm just waiting for a fight. I'm trying to get matches. We're struggling. So we're sitting down with management, having a chat of what our options are moving forward, because it's becoming harder and harder to find opponents.
Yeah.
Specifically within Australia. So we're trying to get overseas. My manager goes to America in 2 weeks. So he's going to network while he's there and see if we can find any fights for me so that I can come over and perhaps fight out in USA, which is really good because there's nothing left for me here.
Right. Well,
so I'm still training and hoping that something comes up.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. You know, so has there ever been a talk of going to try MMA, or is that something you've thought about?
You know, someone spoke to me once before, and I mentioned that it was a no-go because I used to train MMA and Jiu-Jitsu, and when I was training, the trainer I had back then, he tore my shoulder, and the specialist said that I should stop completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I didn't. I took 9 months off training, I rehabbed it, and I then went back, but only to stand up. So they've told me not to go back to MMA or Jiu-Jitsu because if I tear it again, it's gone. My career is over.
Right.
I don't want to completely rule it out
mm-hmm.
because you never know. But shoulders are really tricky things, so you've got to be very careful. And I've torn both. I tore this one
Wow.
in December, and it's only now almost getting there. But we've dipped our toes into the K1, which is the kickboxing,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a chat to management about boxing. So there's a chance of going boxing as well, just because we're a bit worried about the shoulder, and
Right.
we don't want to take our career to a complete halt.
Right. Well, that's and that's another thing. Any question you don't want to answer, that's fine, because I know that's not easy to talk about. And I kind of figured there was reasoning there, so I really appreciate you sharing that. I know it's probably not easy, and it's not a fun thing to have to think about.
Yeah, it's just like I know a lot of the fans would have asked, like, are you gonna do MMA? Come on, do MMA. And
Right.
I do, but I can't chance it. It's just the risk is too high.
Right.
So I do enjoy it. I do watch it. I do support it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a bit nervous to go down that route.
No,
but,
that makes perfect sense. Yeah, and that makes perfect sense, and it sucks that you had that experience, I mean, I think that's the worst part about it. But the cool thing is, with the rise, like early 2000s, UFC blew up, and then Bellator comes along, and then all these other things start popping up, and MMA is becoming a thing. But what it has done is it's made the sports that make it a sport popular too,
Yeah.
So I think that there's plenty of opportunities still for you, in Muay Thai. I mean, there's plenty out there, like there's no doubt. But that'll be great. You said 2 weeks they'll be over here in the States?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's looking to have a sauce around. He's there for 4 weeks or 6 weeks. So he's going to network and see what he can come up with so that we can go there.
Yeah, well, I can tell you just from, like the research I do and the people I talk to, MMA, Muay Thai, it's huge, and it's got a pretty big, not just following, but it's got a big practice here in the States.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some studs over here, and it's really cool that but it's still, like you said earlier, I mean, it's Muay Thai, it's got the culture, it's got all that really cool stuff that make it what it is. But yeah, so there's plenty of opportunities out there, so
good.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think my next step would be coming into the USA.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Out.
I'm in Boring, Ohio. It's literally almost in the middle of the country, and there's nothing. I mean, we have our football teams, college football teams, because our pro football teams are terrible. Yeah, I mean, just awful. So, we have a huge college football program here, and that's probably it, to be honest.
Okay.
But there are MMA and Muay Thai gyms everywhere. And I'm talking,
I would visit some of them.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm talking legit MMA gyms and Muay Thai gyms, and it's become a really popular spot. Like I never thought, the area I'm in would, we've had several UFC fighters, we've had several pro Muay Thai fighters, pro boxers, 20 minutes away from where I live. So it's really cool, and it's super popular here.
Send me those details, or if they're listing, they've got to hit me up so I can come visit them.
I'd be more than happy to. I mean, I think it'd be great. If you ever get over here, and like I said, there's nothing special here whatsoever. But it's kind of for a while when MMA was blowing up, it was the West Coast, California and places like that, and then it was the East Coast, Florida, and the Carolinas, and it's kind of moved to the middle of the country.
Okay.
It's weird. It's really strange, and Like Texas, so the South is a hotbed right now. But the
Yep.
middle of the country is just super popular, and it's because they have so many, just people moved there because it's cheaper. Living on the coast is really expensive, but
Yep.
people have moved there, and the populations are booming, and I mean you're getting some serious athletes out of there. So yeah, I mean you're
Oh.
I think you're going to come back with something. You catch more fish with a net, right? So
Yes.
I mean this is definitely a place to throw a net, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Intrigued.
one gym, the gym I went out of, and that trained Rich Franklin. He was I think one of the guys who helped modernize UFC. Their gym's about 15 minutes down the road from where I live, and that's ran by George Gurgel from Brazil. Great guy, and they have some seriously high caliber guys right now. So that's a killer spot, and they have some incredible. I'll send you the names because I'm sure
Please
you've heard
do.
of them. They have some of the best Muay Thai coaches in the area. So, and I'm sure you've probably heard of some of these people. Just
Oh, yeah.
being
Flick it over to me. I'd love to have a
Yeah.
look and
yeah,
get in
that'd
contact.
be great. That'd be so cool. But yeah, there's a lot here. So definitely, I think you should be excited about that.
Yeah.
I think you're going to come back with something. But yeah, the states we're finally accepting a lot of these sports, and it's just the whole thing is really really popular, and I don't see it dying anytime soon.
No, it's definitely it's a sport that was growing, but now it's just evolving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
its name, and it's not going anywhere.
right, and it's being more understood. I think that's another thing about it. It really wasn't understood what it was,
No.
and but yeah. I think you're gonna get into a lot over here, so that's really cool. So yeah, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So I wanted to ask you, what are your 3 keys to success?
Goal setting for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Not going to set those goals. You don't know what you're trying to achieve. Dedication and willingness. I guess willingness to be dedicated. So knowing that you're going to put in the sacrifice, and a support network. You need to have a support network because you can't get to the top on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's awesome.
definitely the 3 top ones.
Yeah, I love asking that question because you always get different responses. But again, just about every time in all 3 of yours, you can tie those to life. Not just being a fighter. And I think no matter what you do for a profession, you need support. And you need willingness. That's huge. The willingness, and so yeah, that's awesome. So I really appreciate you coming on. This was fun.
Well, thank you
it was
for
yeah, it
having
was
me.
cool to talk. Some Muay Thai stuff. It doesn't happen often, but I'm trying to get more of that on here because it's just a really cool perspective. And I love that you follow the sport of MMA and you're a fan of it. I think that's awesome. So I didn't have to ask because I always ask, do you follow the sport?
I do. I
Stuff
do.
like that. So, but that's really cool.
I have to say thank you for all you do because you follow us and you promote us. So without people like you, we won't be around. So
Well, I
thank you for all
appreciate that.
you do. WMMA.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I love combat sports, but like I said, covering the women's sports or divisions has been, so just, kind of real quick. So I was writing for a website, and that's kind of how I got all obsessed with doing this. So we would use a spreadsheet for our assignments, and nobody was taking the women's articles. So I would just take them, and it was great for me because it got me interviews. It got me noticed, and I was like, man, I love talking to these fighters. And I'd always been a fan of it, but I started watching it even closer. And I'm like, this is like, I've been watching Invicta since Invicta 1. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, because I just thought it was really cool. I'm like, man, what a great idea. So to sit there and have that opportunity has been awesome. So, do you mind if Cassie asks you a couple questions?
Go nuts, Cassie. What would you like to ask?
Talking to the mic.
Okay. So first one.
We did 3 keys to success.
Oh. Okay. So the first question is, what is your favorite color?
Turquoise is my favorite color. Like
That's a good color.
this color, turquoise.
It's a really cool color.
That's my favorite.
The second one is it's hard because I don't. What was the second? I don't remember my second one. I don't remember
All right, well,
anymore.
you can message it to me when you remember.
Oh, do you like pineapple on pizza?
I do actually.
Yes.
Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Yes, a lot.
That's that's an age-old debate here with WMMA fighters.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan. And
I always smack him for that.
Yeah.
Now this kinetic sandal is
I'm heavily outnumbered, but I will stand by it. But yeah, we always ask that. We always ask that question. So, all right. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate your time, and I'd love to talk to you again if you'd be interested. But yeah, thank you so much, and have a great day, because it's day over there. I almost said have a great night, and stay warm.
Have a good night. And Cassie, when you remember what your question was, you can send it to me, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
It's kind of stretchy because there's slime in it.
All right, that was Yolanda Schmidt, just a killer Muay Thai fighter. Awesome talking with her. Yeah, we will here in a second. UFC 227 got one WMMA fight tonight. Polyana Viana taking on JJ Aldrich. I'm calling Polyana on that one. Although JJ is incredibly scrappy, and that'll be a good one. And then we'll have Invicta 31 coverage next week. We got a fighter who will be on with us next week who we've talked to before, but she has just signed with Invictus. We're going to talk about that. And we got several fighters coming down the pipeline as well. Some new, some returning. So got a lot going on here. And everybody have a good night.
Bye, everybody.